All right, we're going to be looking at blue-collar labor shortage, and this is a post by Phil Pearlman. Now, this is not media inaccuracies here. This is one of the few examples where you actually have someone who is looking at the data and nailing it correctly, in the sense that this is really good information, and he's exactly right. But I welcome you to read the post. It's the biggest looming source of inflation, non-college educated men. What we're talking about here is blue-collar work. There are manufacturing jobs out there, no joke, that are paying, $180,000 to $200,000 a year. There are welding jobs that are paying in those ranges. There are plumbing jobs. We have a blue-collar labor shortage in many areas in the U.S., okay? And in fact, again, I'm not political, so before everybody gets all political, I think that part of some of the immigration demand or some of the pro-immigration laws are really to help fill those positions. Because what happens when you educate a lot of people, you send people to colleges, they think that they're better than work. Not all educated people think this, but a lot of educated people walk away thinking, well, I'm too good for blue-collar work. I'm only going to do white-collar work. I mean, even if white-collar work is only paying $30,000 a year. It's kind of funny. But let me go to one of these graphs that he has here. This is a really excellent post. I'll put it in the description. He says, and looking at just the labor force of those 25 years and over without college degrees, unfortunately this series includes both men and women, it's fallen by 3 to 4 million since 2008. So looking at the labor force without college degrees, look at what's happening. We're getting college degrees oversaturated in the market. This is one of the reasons why college students are in a lot of trouble. They don't realize everybody's going to college. If that's your solution to a problem, what happens to the earnings for college graduates? Starts to become watered down, right? It's the same thing as like diluting earnings or diluting shares. You get too much of it, what happens? The value plummets. It's on a downward spiral, right? Okay, so I'll link that in the description. Just some notes here. Blue-collar work is predominantly done by men. It's overlooked by media. And fewer people have these skills. If you don't believe me, go talk to people who are looking for welders. They can't find them. The other thing, too, is really big here. U.S. men, when I was working at the bank, one thing that I observed, they're just completely disengaged. That's a problem, right? If they want to collect disability by having agoraphobia or something, and they just don't want to work and they want to play video games, or they're just disengaged from society, you're not going to have them go fill these jobs. There's a huge demand for truck drivers. The average age of a farmer is 57, and plumbers and welders, like I say here, are high demand. We have a major problem looming with farming. A huge problem, in that when this generation of farmers retires, America is going to have a major food problem. And just wait. If we don't get enough people to go into farming. I mean, think about how many people graduate with a degree in PR versus agriculture. And you don't even need to get a degree in agriculture, right? I raise chickens. I raise plants. Like, there's nothing that I could write in a book on how to do it. You got to figure out how to do it, right? I mean, it's a real world skill for sure. Truck drivers. I was recently traveling to, Ohio? Everywhere I was at, almost every single semi-truck had, now hiring, we need truck drivers, etc. Compare that with about 4 years ago. Maybe 1 out of 20 trucks had that on the back. Now it's like every one of them do. Huge demand for truck drivers. Also, I love to hear all these people talk about how, well, robots are going to eventually do this. I do robotics. I've done programming for robots, and I'm going to tell you that while they can definitely do some truck driving, they're limited. And I think what people are going to find is they're going to be limited to repetitive tasks. They're not going to be as good at truck driving as you think, and that's still, even if so, probably about 10 to 15 years away. I really doubt that. There's a lot of people, by the way, who think that they'll be able to do robots in farming. We'll see. I just know a lot about agriculture because I lived on a farm for a while. I've raised plants, I've raised chickens, I've raised goats, I've raised rabbits, and humans, when you face a problem, the way the human brain solves a problem is very, very different than the way that a robot brain does. And no matter how you program it, it's just very different. Okay? Other reasons why I think, these are the reasons why I think that there may be inflation. I agree with Phil. Here's some possible reasons why not. If blue collar costs rise too high, white collar workers will cut back. Now you'll note that when it comes to farming, well, there's no possible way. You're just not going to eat as much food. Is that your solution? But with welders and plumbers, maybe they'll just deal with plumbing that doesn't work. I kind of have a hard time believing that they can cut back on this one. Welders, possibly. Pro-immigration laws will help fill these positions. I really think that's what's going on with the immigration. I know everybody's complaining. Again, I'm apolitical. I don't care. But I think what's happening is politicians are looking at this blue-collar work and they're like, nobody in America wants to do this. We need to bring people from the outside to do this. And they see the gaps in these positions. And then the other thing, too, as well, is that how many plumbers and welders and truck drivers know that they're in high demand? If I'm a welder, let's suppose, and I'm being offered overtime, I will immediately see that as they need me. There's a huge demand for my position, right? And I'll demand a higher wage, right? The problem is, so the blue-collar workers may not realize that. Now, hopefully, if they watch this channel, they'll realize that and demand higher wages, right? They'll say, wait a minute, I'm in high demand. Demand higher wages. Right? If you're being offered overtime, it means there's a labor shortage, blam, higher wages. Because you're more in the position to negotiate. They're not. Okay? I just don't see that necessarily happening. But if you know a blue-collar worker, share with them this video. So I will link the article in the description. Definitely check it out. It's interesting. And I've sent him an email, so see if maybe I can speak with him about some of his thoughts on that.